Kuhai was an ugly, disgusting virgin loser who transferred to a new school, hoping to get his V license revoked. His luck changed when a drop-dead gorgeous vampire fell for his negative res, so he turned her into his human pencil sharpener. When Kuhai first arrived at Shuchikan Academy, he was welcomed by Erika, who introduced herself as the student council vice president. However, when his hand touched hers for a handshake, Erika jumped back and screamed like she'd been electrocuted. Kuhai immediately asked what the problem was, and she told him everything was fine, but moved back when he tried to help her up. Just then, another student named Tsukasa approached them, so Erika begged him to take Kuhai to the dorm because she had something else she needed to attend to. On the way to the dorm, Tsukasa told Kuhai that his ugly-ass face was the reason Erika ran off, but he argued that he was widely known as a chick magnet, so she couldn't be repulsed by him. At the dorm, Tsukasa explained that the girls stayed on the 3rd and 4th floors, and as they made their way up the stairs, Kuhai was knocked down by a boyish-looking loli. Before he regained consciousness, she tried to shake him awake. Fortunately, she was stopped by her sister Haruna when she attempted to use a more extreme method to wake him up. Tsukasa then called out to him, hoping to wake him up, and that was when Kanade recognized Kuhai as their childhood friend, who left 7 years ago. When Kuhai finally opened his eyes, he recognized the sisters, and Kanade apologized for trying to send him across the river Styx before his time. That night, Erika was speaking to a blonde-haired boy, who asked what she thought of Kuhai, and she said she didn't like him. Meanwhile, Kuhai had to spend the night in Tsukasa's room because his belongings hadn't arrived, and as they chatted about things, they heard the sound of laughter coming from the room above. The next day, Kanade and Haruna joined Kuhai and Tsukasa for breakfast, and while they were eating, the girls apologized for being loud the night before. Haruna explained that they usually had tea parties with their friends to catch up on things, and Kanade suggested they have the next one in Kuhai's room. Kanade then gave Kuhai a school map and told him that he had to take pictures of all the places marked on it before the entrance ceremony. After breakfast, Kuhai went around the school, taking the required pictures, and encountered a silver-haired girl trying to catch a rabbit. He helped her catch the rabbit, so the girl thanked him for his help and introduced herself as Tobishiro. While they were talking, a nun joined them and introduced herself as Sister of Make, the school's counselor. After talking to them for a bit, Kuhai turned to leave, but Shiro called out to him and asked where he was going. He told her that he needed to go to the directing students building, so Shiro took him there. When he tried to take a picture of the building, he was interrupted by Toji Shichiro, Shiro's older brother. When he demanded to know what Kuhai's relationship with Shiro was, Shiro explained that Kuhai was a transfer student and said she brought him there because didn't know the way. Soon after Shiro left, the door of the building was opened by the blonde-haired boy, who invited Kuhai to have tea with them. Inside the building, Kuhai met Erika, who scolded the blonde for bringing Kuhai there even though he knew how she felt about him. The boy ignored her and apologized to Kuhai for her rudeness before he introduced himself as Sendo Lori, her older brother. Annoyed, Erika walked out of the room, so Lori told Kuhai that Erika was avoiding him because she'd fallen in love with him at first sight. Later, as Kuhai got ready to take a bath, he kept replaying Lori's words in his head like it was the album of the year. When he walked into the bathroom, he commented on how big it was. As he looked around, however, the words died in his mouth the moment he laid eyes on Erika. Immediately, he tried to explain that he hadn't been referring to her low-hanging melons, but she refused to listen and gave him a loud, brain-resetting slap. The sound was heard in the boys' bathroom, where Lori admitted to Shichiro that he'd switched the curtains for the boys' and girls' bath.
What do you mean by that?
Later, Kuhai sat nursing his red cheek in the common area with Tsukasa, when Haruna and Kanade joined them. Kanade called Kuhai a shameless peeping Tom and slapped a discipline sticker on his forehead, saying he would be punished for his act. Haruna then asked why he'd gone into the girls' bath, so Tsukasa told them what he'd heard Lori telling Shichiro. At that moment, Erika was passing by, but she stopped in her tracks and hid behind the wall so she could listen in on their conversation. As soon as she heard that her brother had been behind it, she stormed off angrily, so she didn't hear Kuhai tell his friends that he wanted to apologize to her. Later on, when Kuhai and Tsukasa were on their way to their rooms, Erika passed by and told Kuhai to meet her at the Zelkova tree that evening. After she walked away, Tsukasa told Kuhai that the tree was a popular spot for people to confess their feelings. On his way to the tree, Kuhai decided to stop by the chapel and take a picture, but received the shock of his life when he witnessed Lori drinking the blood of a female student. This was why he arrived at the tree and didn't meet Erika, who had already left in anger because she assumed he'd blown her off. The next day, During the entrance ceremony, the sight of a smiling Lori made Kuhai recall what he'd seen at the chapel. However, Kuhai concluded that Lori had played a trick on him, just like he'd done with the bathroom curtains. After Lori gave his speech, Erica took the stage and gave a speech as well. However, she rounded it off with a twist. Kuhai was surprised to find himself singled out and labeled a dirty pole-flashing sleazeball by Erica, so he tried to defend himself. This was pointless because everyone began whispering about him since none of them believed Erica was lying about him. Later in class, his half-witted insult-brained classmates begged him to tell them what it was like to see plots without armor. Just as Tsukasa was about to tell the pea-brained fools to shut up, the door opened and Akane's long-lost twin sister walked in. Her name was Kuriha, and she completely ignored the teacher when he complained about her tardiness. After class, Kuhai went to Erica's class, hoping to speak with her, but she was in the midst of her friends. He decided to go to the student council office, but the building was locked, so he went to speak with Haruna. While they were talking, she spotted Erica walking by, and as soon as she let Kuhai know, he ran after Erica. In his mad dash, he accidentally bumped into Kuriha, knocking both her and the boxes she was carrying down. He quickly apologized to her and helped put the handbooks that fell out of the boxes back, after which he helped her carry them. That night, just as Kuhai finished setting up his room, Kand jumped down to his balcony from the roof like a ninja. Unfortunately, she used him as a human buffer to avoid getting injured by Florkun. Haruna, who came down after her and was carrying a basket, apologized on her sister's behalf. Eventually, they all sat down to drink some tea, and Candy asked Kuhai for the pictures she'd asked him to take. As soon as Kuhai handed the memory card over to her, the chibi half-pint let out a victorious cry, and she said she could finally make the pamphlets for the new students. That was when Kuhai realized that he'd been tricked by the surfboard chest brat into doing half of her job. Kan thanked him for his help and announced that his room was officially the tea party room. The next day at school, Shiro went to feed her rabbit, but discovered that it had escaped by digging a hole which led outside its cage. After class, she approached Kuhai and begged him to help her find her rabbit. As Kuhai went about looking for the rabbit, he spotted Erica close to the football field. He then decided it was his chance to apologize to her, but when he tried to approach her, the rabbit jumped out of the nearby bush. Kuhai quickly rushed to save it before it could get hit by the ball that had been kicked in its direction. After his heroic rescue, Erica tried to help him up but jumped back when he tried to take her outstretched hand. The next moment, Lori popped up out of nowhere and pointed out that Kuhai had an injury on his hand. He then used his handkerchief to wipe the blood, but Kuhai pulled his hand away almost immediately. When Shiro arrived with Seichiro, the rabbit ran to her, and she thanked Kuhai for saving it. That evening at the dorm, Erica approached Kuhai, and he finally got the chance to apologize to her for walking in on her in the bathroom and standing her up. Erica accepted his apology and apologized for what she did during the opening ceremony before asking him to be friends with her. At the same time, Seichiro showed Lori the results of the test carried out on the blood sample he'd taken from Kuhai. From the results, Lori confirmed that Kuhai was special, which explained why Erica had a strange reaction to him the first time they met. A few days later, everyone, including Erica and Shiro, gathered in Kuhai's room for the tea party after school. During the party, Ken declared that they would go shopping the next day to get some items to decorate Kuhai's room. This was because Shiro had pointed out that Kuhai's room looked like a display room instead of one that had someone living in it. The next day, they all went shopping as agreed, and after visiting a few stores and enjoying their time in the town, they went to the seaside to watch the sunset. While the others did their own thing, Kuhai and Erica stood on the boardwalk, and Kuhai told her that he had enjoyed the day. She said all their days could be the same as long as he was willing to create new memories with her and their friends. The next day at school, Lori approached Kuhai and asked him to come to the student council office after school because he had something to discuss with him. When Kuhai arrived, Lori convinced him to play a board game with him and explained that everything the cards said was absolute. Kuhai didn't think anything of it until Lori drew a card that ordered him to stab a knife through his hand. To his surprise, Lori picked up the letter opener on his desk and stabbed his hand, saying he'd completed his task. Kuhai thought he was crazy for doing something like that, but Lori assured him that he was fine and showed him his hand as the wound closed up. He then explained that he was a vampire, causing Kuhai to imagine being bitten to death by Lori. Just as Lori promised that he wouldn't drink from him, Erica came in and confirmed that she was also a vampire. Lori then said since Kuhai had discovered their secret, he couldn't let him go and asked him to join the student council. Kuai asked what would happen if he refused his request, and Lori said he'd erase his memory, the same way he'd done to the girl he fed on in the chapel. However, in Kuai's case, you'd have to make him forget everything that's happened since he transferred to the academy. Kuai didn't seem to have any problem with his memory being erased because he was used to starting from scratch. The only problem this time around was the friends he'd made. However, he still agreed to Lori's offer to have his memory erased. Lori then asked Erika to handle the situation before he left the room with Sachiro and Tao. Erika took Kuai to the lakeside and asked if he was completely fine with losing his memories, and he told her that he was. He told her to carry on with the task, but Erika couldn't do it and began to cry. She called him a spineless coward and asked if all the time they had spent together meant nothing to him. Hearing her words made him think of their friends and the time they spent together, so he told her not to erase his memories. Later, he returned to the student council room and told Lori he would join the council. On his first day as a council member, Kuai was given a crash course on vampires by Lori, who told him to ignore everything the movies painted vampires out to be. He also let him know that Shiro and Seiichiro were already aware that he and Erika were vampires because their families had a long history together. Going further, he said vampires were strong and immortal, clearly stating that he was almost as old as Vandal Savage himself. This made Kuai look in Erika's direction, but she assured him that she was the same age as him and not some wrinkly old hag. Lori then said that garlic and sunlight didn't affect them as they did to vampires in the movies. However, Erika added that they weren't entirely sure if they would survive getting stabbed by a wooden stake. The last thing they talked about was their need to drink blood, and Kuai asked if it was necessary. Erika said they were yet to understand why they had to drink blood, but assured him that they didn't go around hunting people to get it. Lori, on the other hand, admitted that he fed directly from people once in a while because there was no need to lie since Kuai had seen him do it before. After the lesson, Lori couldn't help but bring up Kuai and Erika's bathroom incident, which made Erika go all Saitama on his stupid ass. After he recovered from the beating, he told Kuai he was going to be in charge of the upcoming sports festival. He then took him to the committee meeting and introduced him to the members, who weren't too happy about the decision. However, after Kuai addressed them and was applauded by Lori, they accepted him a little. In the days that followed, Kuai was swamped with a lot of work concerning the sports festival, and Lori warned Erika not to distract him. One night, Haruna and Kinade found Kuai passed out on his bed with papers scattered around his room. After they helped him fix the place and sat down for their tea party, he explained the situation to them. Even though they were surprised to learn that he was part of the student council and in charge of the sports festival, they encouraged him. The next day, Erika walked into the student council room and was surprised to see that the stack of papers on Kuai's desk had grown taller. Kuai told her that he needed to go through them to familiarize himself with the way the sports festival was usually held at the academy. Lori then spoke up from his desk and asked Kuai to sort through the old reference materials in the storage. Immediately, Kuai left the room and Erika insisted on lending him a hand, so she followed him. Shiro tried to go with them, but Seiichiro didn't let her do so and asked to finish the chores she had left. In the storage room, Erika almost fell and broke her neck. Fortunately, Kuai saved her, and as they packed up the pictures, Kuai noticed Lori in one of them. When he tried to show it to Erika, he found her smiling at the pictures in her hands, and she commented on how happy everyone looked. As the days progressed, Kuai continued working on the festival plans while making sure everyone did their part. One afternoon during lunch, Haruna and Kinade asked how the preparations were going, and he gave them a quick breakdown. He also asked if they had any ideas he could implement to make the festival better, and Kinade suggested something that involved torture. Kuai ignored the Joker in training and asked Haruna for ideas, but instead of answering, she poured him some juice. After he took a sip, he'd exclaimed that it was delicious, so a proud Kinade hugged her sister and said Kuai should be grateful for Haruna's reward. Her words seemed to give him an idea, so that evening he presented his idea to the sports festival committee. He suggested they reach out to the local vendors and ask them to be sponsors for the festival, as well as ask them to provide prizes for each event. While he was speaking, he had no idea Shiro had overheard his proposal, which his fellow committee members thought was bizarre. After the meeting, he decided to head into town himself and gather sponsors, even though the committee didn't believe in his vision. On his way out, he ran into Shiro, who insisted on going with him, and to his surprise, everyone they spoke to was more than happy to lend a hand. He was also surprised to learn that the townspeople loved and treated Shiro with respect, so she explained that her family was in a position of power. She also told him she'd never left the island before because she spent most of her time training to become someone befitting of the Tabi family name. This made Kohai promise to give her a tour of places off the island sometime in the future. On the day before the sports festival was supposed to begin, Erika found Kohai putting the finishing touches on the ceremonial gate. Before she could walk up to him and lend him a hand, the other committee members joined him, so she stood back and watched. Shiro soon joined her, and when Kohai and the others began transporting the gate, they went to help them. Haruna, Kanade, and Tsukasa also joined them, and they all managed to raise the gate, but it fell and broke in half, giving them more work. The next day, Kohai was asked to recite the oath before the festival began, but he was so nervous he began stuttering like a fool. Eventually, he forced his 500-megabyte processor brain to recall the words, and the event started soon after. The students were excited to participate in each event, and even Kiriha, the Ice Queen, took part in the 100-meter race. When Kohai tried to congratulate her for coming in second, she brushed him off and said it didn't matter. For the next event, Kanade begged Kohai to be the commentator because Haruna was participating in it, and she didn't want to be biased. Kohai refused at first, but the moment Kanade began praising only Haruna, he took the microphone away from her and began commenting. He did a fairly good job until he began comparing Erika and Haruna to horses, which annoyed them. As soon as the race was over, Erika channeled her inner Quicksilver and charged at him, knocking him out completely with a super punch. The event continued for a while until it was time for lunch, so everyone took a break so they could eat. Kohai and his friends sat together on a picnic blanket where they ate and talked about the balloon tossing event. Kohai said Kand and Haruna had helped him come up with the idea, and Erika pointed out that it was sad he couldn't participate in it. He told them he didn't mind as long as everyone else enjoyed it, but Kiriha, who was passing by, told him to stop acting like a martyr. Erika was the one who responded, and she told Kiriha to stop being a nosy bit, but Kohai asked not to be rude to Kiriha. Kiriha then walked away, and Kohai later found her talking to a stray cat somewhere on the school premises. He asked if she would return to the field for the remaining half of the event, and she told him she wouldn't because all the events she signed up for were over. Instead of leaving, Kohai pointed out that she looked bored sitting alone. But before he could say more, he was summoned to the organizer's tent. As he began making his way back to the field, he turned around and told Kira to try having a little bit of fun instead of acting like a Wednesday Addams wannabe all the time. At the tent, he was informed that the prizes left weren't enough for the remaining events because there had been a slight mix-up on the part of the committee members. Those responsible apologized for their mistake and asked Kohai what they could do to rectify the situation quickly. Kohai thought about it for a while and suggested they give out vouchers, which would allow the winners to claim their prizes on another day. He instructed them to draw up the vouchers and said he would go speak with the sponsors to see if they would be willing to give them more prizes. 2 committee members insisted on going with him, and after he agreed, they all went to speak to the sponsors, who were more than happy to provide the prizes because they thought the event was fun. Meanwhile, the balloon toss game had already begun and everyone was having a great time throwing balloons at their opponents. As usual, Lori used the opportunity to show off his charms, while Seichiro did his best to protect Shiro, even though they were on different teams. When Kanade got hit in the chest with a water balloon and her shirt became transparent, the shameless degenerates around her couldn't take their eyes off her. This made her feel uncomfortable, so she slapped discipline stickers on all their faces to stop their roaming eyes from looking at her. Right before the game rounded up, Haruna rushed to get more balloons, but on her way back, she tripped and fell, leading to an injury on her right leg. Since she was injured, she couldn't participate in the final event, which happened to be a 3-legged obstacle race with Kohai. Their other classmates said they couldn't participate either, so when Kohai spotted Kiriya, he approached her and begged her to run the race with him. Kiriya didn't want to do it, but after Haruna pleaded with her, she agreed but told Kohai that if they lost, he couldn't hold her responsible. Before the race began, Haruna helped Kiriya braid her hair into pigtails and admitted that she had always wanted to be friends with her. But Kiriya acted like she hadn't heard anything Haruna said. The race soon began, and as their classmates cheered them on happily, Kohai told Kiriya he wanted them to win the race at all costs. When they got to the final obstacle, Kohai untied the ropes binding them together so that Kiriya could slip into the makeshift dressing room and change clothes. As soon as she stepped out of the dressing room in a cute cat-eared maid costume, which made everyone except Haruna, who was sad that Kiriya loosened her braids to swoon at her cuteness. Erica soon came out of the dressing room in an angry duck costume that she couldn't walk properly and because of how big the feet were. After she fell to the ground, Kuwei grabbed Curious' hand and together they ran to the finish line, securing the first position for their class. After the event concluded, Kuwei was given the key to the student council room by Lori, who said it was his reward for a job well done. A few days later, Kuwei ran into Haruna, who was putting up flyers asking for volunteers for students about the Community Service Month. She asked if the student council would support the committee as they had promised, and Kuwei admitted that Lori never mentioned anything like that to him. However, he promised to lend a helping hand and offered to help her put up the rest of the flyers around the school. Unknown to them, Candy was watching them from behind the lockers, and she concluded that Haruna had feelings for Kuwei. That night, Kuwei noticed Kinade spying on him from the balcony, but she quickly hid and prayed that he hadn't seen her. However, she was very surprised when he pulled the door open and demanded to know why she was spying on him. He then called Haruna down and handed Kinade over to her, as he explained she was spying on him from the balcony of his room. Kinade argued that she hadn't been spying, stating that she'd only been curious to know what he did during his spare time, which sounded very suspicious to both Haruna and Kuwei. Realizing that she sounded like an obsessed stalker, she excused herself, saying she had to go water her pet plant and ran off in the direction of her room. After she left, Haruna apologized to Kuwei on her behalf and begged him not to hold it against her before she left as well. A few days later, Kuwei and Haruna looked out their classroom window and saw Seichiro handing out flyers, while Lori announced that the student council was holding an event to show off the new uniforms for members of the cleaning committee. Just like before, Kuwei was unaware of the event, but Haruna was, and she told him she had to go help them because she was part of the committee. Kuwei went after her, and when he got to the location of the event, he found Erica, Shiro, and some other female students dressed in maid outfits. Of course, the outfits had been chosen by Lori, who praised himself for coming up with such a wonderful concept. Seeing his smug look made Kuwei realize that Lori had refused to tell him about the event because he knew he would object to the idea. Just then, Haruna arrived in her outfit and apologized for being late. However, before she could join the others, Kinade arrived and pulled Kuwei to the front of the crowd. She then handed her camera over to Seichiro and asked him to take a picture of the three of them together, but Kuwei and Haruna protested. Kinade couldn't understand why Haruna would refuse to get her picture taken with Kuwei, and insisted that she was doing it for her good, which pissed Haruna off. Angrily, she asked Kinade if she was always extra nice to her, because she had lost her memories after getting into an accident. She said she didn't like being treated like a piece of fragile glass, after which she ran off, leaving everyone present stunned. Kuwei found Kinade in the cafeteria later on, and she apologized for what had transpired at the uniform event. While they were speaking, Haruna approached the table, but the moment she noticed her sister sitting on the other end, she walked away. As soon as she did that, Kinade began blaming herself for Haruna's accident. She said that Haruna had been born sick and spent most of her childhood in and out of the hospital. When she was finally better, their mother had charged Kinade to look after her. Unfortunately, the day the accident occurred, Kinade hadn't been with her sister. When she visited her at the hospital, she discovered that she'd lost some of her memories. The memories she lost were of the time Kuwei spent with them, so because of that, she stopped sending letters to him. That weekend, Kuwei went shopping with Haruna, and when they went to a cafe, he told her everything Kinade had told him. Haruna then admitted that the reason she was mad at Kinade was that she always neglected herself. After admitting that she wanted her sister to be happy and live her life without guilt, Kuwei suggested she tell Kinade how she felt. That night, Kuwei brought Kinade to the Zelkova tree, where admitted that she once hated her because she was jealous that she always got to play and attend school, while she was always stuck in the hospital. She also made Kinade understand that she didn't blame her for the accident and begged her to start putting her needs before anything else. Kinade argued that she always took care of her because she had never done so while they were growing up and she was in the hospital. Haruna told her that the only way she would be happy was if Kinade was happy, so both girls agreed to make up and spend the rest of their lives being happy at each other's side. After their tearful hug, Kuwei gave Kinade the last letter Haruna wrote to him and asked her to read it. In the letter, Haruna had asked Kuwei if he was fine with her sending him letters, even though she didn't remember him. Haruna admitted that she had sent the letter because she'd been desperate to get her memories back. Kuwei then suggested they stop dwelling on the past and focus on their future together now that they were reunited. In the end, they all faced the tree and made a wish to continue making fun memories together. The following weekend, Lori had Kuhai and the others work hard on the upcoming pool event, while he did nothing but sit and read a magazine. At some point, he asked Kuhai for his birthday because wanted to check his compatibility with Erica. Kuhai told him it wasn't necessary, but Lori ignored him and began searching for Erica's birthday, which he said was on the 7th of June. Hearing this, Kuhai looked at the calendar and realized that the date matched that day. Immediately, he scolded Lori for forgetting his sister's birthday, but Lori said their family wasn't big on birthdays. He claimed even Erica didn't give a flying flip about her birthday, but Kuhai believed everyone deserved to celebrate their birthdays. Being the sly fox that he was, Lori asked Kuhai to go into town and buy a new toilet brush. This was because he, the idiot dumbass, would make use of his dusty-ass brain and decide to buy Erica a present. Later that day, the cleaning committee and the council members, except Erica and Kuhai, gathered at the pool to clean it up. When Kinade noticed Lori and Seichiro slacking off, she scolded them and told them to make themselves useful. Lori went to work immediately, but Seichiro stood like a statue until Shiro begged him to help out. Meanwhile, Kuhai and Erica were working in the student council room, when someone knocked on the door claiming to have a sushi delivery for Kuhai. When he stepped out of the room, Tsukasa handed over a gift box to him and told him he had to compensate him for using him as an errand boy. Kuhai thanked him before he took the box inside and handed it over to Erica, who was surprised when she opened it and saw a basket of flowers. He explained that it was a present for her birthday, and Erica admitted that he was the first person to ever give her a present on her birthday. She said it made her feel like a normal teenage girl and thanked him for the gift as she wiped the tears falling from her eyes. Later that night, she placed her flowers on her bedside table and smiled happily as she looked at them. However, her happiness was short-lived because suddenly she began to feel a horrible pain in her chest. This forced her to grip her chest as she lay in bed hoping for the pain to pass. On the day of the pool event, the girls changed out of their clothes into their swimwear, and Shiro couldn't help but feel intimidated by Haruna and Erica's massive milkers. Kinade tried to cheer her up by telling her that she would eventually grow into an irresistible woman just like her. As she said this, Shiro looked at the almost level landscape she was referring to and prayed for the opposite. Before the event started, Lori got up on one of the diving podiums and asked everyone to soak in his manliness as he opened his shirt. Unfortunately, he didn't sparkle the way Edward Cullen did, but his unsculpted chest did make the girls go crazy. His little striptease was soon cut short by Erica, who sent him skipping into the pool. Eventually, the event started, and after the swimming competition, Kinade introduced the swim tag game. She explained that all the players had to make sure their caps didn't get swiped by Swipper. Sorry the judo masters for 5 minutes. When the game started, the girls did their best to keep their caps, but the judo boys were faster than them. In the end, only Kiria and Shiro were left with their caps because Kiria managed to evade them with her Olympic-worthy swimming, and Shiro was too cute for them to attack. At the end of the day, Kuhai and Erica stayed behind to clean up the pool area, and Kuhai proposed that they swim a lap around the pool, which Erica said yes to. When they were finished, Erica helped Kuhai out of the pool, but he slipped because of the water, and she had to pull him closer to stabilize him. This resulted in a sort of romantic moment between the two, and they would have kissed each other had it not been for the fact that Erica's chest began hurting once again. She immediately pulled back and ran back to her room, where she collapsed on her bed in pain. As she lay in pain, her eyes began to glow red, and it became clear that she needed blood, but she refused to give in to her body's demands. Later that night, she awoke from a dream where she encountered a cloaked version of herself feeding on Kuhai, which left her confused. That same night, a female student was just leaving the chapel when she noticed a cloaked figure watching her from the roof. Immediately, she screamed in fear, causing Sister Amake to rush to her side, asking what the problem was. The girl, who was too stunned to speak, fearfully pointed a shaking finger at the cloaked figure, who was now standing on the highest level of the roof. The next day, news about the mysterious person spread around the school, but the students were convinced the person was a vampire. When Kuhai and the others met in the student council room, Kuhai asked Lori if he'd been the cloaked figure, and he denied it. When he hinted that Erica might have been the one, she fiercely denied it, so Lori suggested they patrol the school grounds and find the culprit themselves. When they returned to the dorm, they found Haruna cosplaying as a very low-budget Van Helsing. Bear in mind that she was only armed with a cross and a garlic necklace, which she swore to use to protect the entire student body from the blood-sucking vampire. Haruna pleaded with Kuhai and Erica to talk her sister out of her stupid plan to patrol the school that night. When she refused to back down, Lori put the garlic necklace on her neck and told her it was the most effective way to use it. The strong smell caused her to feel dizzy and lightheaded, so she said she'd only use it in case of an emergency. The next moment, Sister and mate came downstairs and instructed them to stay indoors until the cloaked individual was caught. However, Kuai, Erika, Lori, and Seichiro disobeyed her orders and went patrolling as they had planned earlier. When they eventually regrouped after splitting up, Lori suggested they call it quits, but suddenly they sensed a presence. They'd all looked up at that moment and caught sight of the cloaked person landing on the roof of the building. Erika jumped on the roof as well and demanded to know who the person was, but they said nothing and didn't move until the wind blew their hood off their head. Everyone was surprised to see the person was Kiriya. But Erika was more surprised when Kiriya said she had no business with her because she wasn't her master. When Kiriya tried to escape, Erika went after her and the others followed suit to prevent things from going south. Meanwhile, Haruna heard sounds from outside, and when she looked out the window, she saw two figures move at lightning speed. Out of curiosity, she went outside to confirm if she'd seen correctly or if her eyes were playing tricks on her. Close by, Erika did her best to catch up with Kiriya, but she was so out of shape that Kiriya managed to escape. The moment Haruna decided to return to the dorm was the same moment Erika jumped back down, so she found herself staring face to face with Haruna. Haruna, on the other hand, suddenly had a recollection of the day her accident happened, and it seemed Erika had been there that day. The shock of seeing Erika's glowing eyes caused her to faint just as Kuai, Seichiro, and Lori arrived. They took Haruna to the student council office and Lori instructed Erika to erase Haruna's memories, just like she'd done when they were kids. When Erika returned to the room, Kuai begged her not to do it, but she said it was the only way to keep her secrets. She then said it wouldn't be the first time she'd done it and explained how she had erased Haruna's memories after she pulled a Superman and saved her from Trutkan. Still, Kuai tried to reason with her, but Erika got angry and admitted she was scared of what would happen if their secret got out. This made him shut up, so she knelt beside Haruna and was about to erase her memories when she woke up. Haruna thanked her for saving her life when they were kids, but that wasn't enough to stop Erika from doing what she wanted. Kuai screamed and fell to his knees when Erika was done, but was surprised to hear Haruna address him with the name she used when they were children. She then told him she remembered everything, after which she hugged Erika and thanked her again. The next day, Kuai and Erika were on their way to school when Haruna and a few in Canada approached them. Together they went to a secluded area and Kuai surprised them by hugging Erika and thanking her for saving her sister. She said she didn't care that Erika was a direct descendant of Count Dracula because she considered her to be her friend. While they were still talking and being all emotional and Kiriya casually walked past them and ignored Kuai, who tried to greet her. When she walked into the school building, she equally ignored Lori and Seichiro, who also tried to speak to her. After she walked away, Seichiro asked Lori if he was sure his suspicions about Kiriya being a dependent were true. Lori said he was sure and added that her master was someone they both knew very well. Later in the student council office, Lori informed him that he was in charge of planning the cultural festival with Erika. That night, they told their friend about their new assignment during their tea party, and they all promised to help them. A few days later, Seichiro found Kiriya reading at the foot of a tree and told her that someone wanted to meet her. Meanwhile, Erika and Kuai went into town to do some shopping, and they let the vendors know about the upcoming cultural festival while they were there. When they were done shopping, they went to the beach and Kuai asked Erika who a dependent was since he'd heard her say at the night they chased Kiriya down. Erika explained that a dependent was a human who entered a contract with a vampire after drinking the vampire's blood. Like vampires, they neither aged nor died and were blessed with the same physical strength. The only difference was that a dependent could go to sleep for an extended period against their will and they couldn't refuse an order given by their master. She then revealed that Kiriya's master was most likely her and Lori's mother, Kaya, which caught him off guard. At the same time, Seichiro took Kiriya to meet Kaya, and the first thing she did after coming face to face with her master was slap her. Seichiro tried to intervene, but Kaya stopped him and ordered Kiriya to kneel before her as she complained about Erika's refusal to get a dependent. Back on the beach, Erika told Kuai that the only reason her mother allowed her to attend school was because she promised to get a dependent by the time she graduated. Failure to do so would result in her being forced to return home and be locked away like a Disney princess in a tower awaiting her Prince Charming. Kuai didn't like what he heard, but Erika assured him that she would prove to her mother that vampires didn't need dependents. However, Kuai promised to become her dependent if she failed to achieve her goal. Erika refused, saying she didn't want to take his humanity away, and added that she wanted to live her life like a human. After they returned to school and Kuai left Erika standing in front of the dorm, her chest began to hurt again. Erika rushed to her room and drank so many bags of blood, but she was still unsatisfied because what she wanted the most was Kuai's blood. A few days later, most of the student body formed a line outside the student council room as they waited their turn to show Erika their proposals for the cultural festival. After they finished attending to the matters at hand, Erika and Kuai headed to the dorm together and talked about their plans on the way. When they got to the dorm and Erika said her goodbyes to Kuai, she found Curious Cat waiting for her on the stairs. Immediately, she understood why it was there, so she returned home to speak with her mother, who asked why she hadn't made Kuai her dependent. She reminded Erika of the promise she made before she left for school and told her to make things official. Surprisingly, Erika told her mother that she was still living in the past and told her that their kind could live on other things instead of feeding on people. Kata pointed out that Erika had not been able to quench her thirst for blood with just the blood bags she had. Still, Erika assured her that she would overcome that hurdle and swore that she would never live her life the way her mother wanted her to. The next day, Lori and Kinnaid announced to their friends that they had planned a beach day for them. Kinnaid showed them the plans she'd drawn up for their beach day, and her friends did their best not to laugh at kindergarten-level artwork on display. Kinnaid didn't seem to care and happily explained her plans to them, stating that they would round the day off watching the fireworks display. Even though her drawings were terrible, her friends liked the idea of spending the day together, but Shiro said she wouldn't be able to go. When they asked why, Seichiro explained that they had dance practice for the dance they would present to the gods during the autumn festival at the shrine. This made Haruna suggest that they join the siblings at the shrine so they could all watch the fireworks display together. Seichiro agreed and said he didn't have a problem with the plan as long as they finished their practice before the display. The next day, as planned, they met up at the beach, where they had fun playing in the sea. They also played various games, rounding it up with a volleyball match before they settled down to eat. While the others talked by the fire, Kubai went to join Erika, who was sitting by herself close to the sea. After they talked about how much fun they had that day, Kuai suggested they rejoin the others and stretched his hand for her to take. The moment she tried to take it, she felt her chest become tight, so she backed away. Before Kuai could find out what the problem was, she sidestepped him and walked away. Lori, who had been watching them from the top of a rock, jumped down and explained Erika's situation to Kuai. He said Erika's refusal to feed from a human was causing her vampiric urges to surge, and the more she resisted it, the more she would be in pain. Kuai tried to argue that she could feed off the blood bags she owned, but Lori said she'd gone beyond the point where they would quench her thirst. Before walking away, he asked Kuai to assist Erika in case of an emergency while smiling previously to himself. On their way to the shrine later, Kuai asked Erika if she was in pain, but she told him she was fine even though it was a bald-faced lie. After they got to the shrine, the girls changed into their yukatas, and everyone gathered near a cliff to watch the fireworks display. Before it began, Kuei noticed something was off about Erika, but when he asked if anything was wrong, she told him she was fine. When the display began, Lori pushed everyone forward, saying he wanted them to get a better view. Kuei had to hug Erika to stop her from falling, but that just elevated her bloodlust even more. He quickly let go and apologized, but got distracted by the others complaining about what Lori did, so he didn't notice Erika slip away. When he finally realized she was gone, he went in search of her and found her lying on the ground in pain. He rushed to help her, but Erika was determined to get away from him and would have succeeded if he hadn't pulled her into a hug. The next morning, she woke up in her bed, and after she recalled some of what happened the night before, she concluded that she had overcome her bloodlust and managed to get home somehow. She then went about the rest of her day happily and without a care in the world until she got close to Kuai. Suddenly, she felt her chest tighten, causing her to fall to the floor, and as she struggled to make sense of what was happening, memories of the night before came rushing in. It so happened that after Kuai pulled her in for her hug, she bit him and fed on his blood, which left her in a state of shock. When Kuai tried to approach her, she asked him not to and assured him that she was fine, after which she thanked him for saving her life. She then got up, acting like everything was fine, and asked Kuai to show her the reference materials he'd gathered for the cultural festival. Shiro moved closer to Lori and Seichiro and asked if they knew what was wrong with Erika, and they told her that it wasn't something she needed to concern herself with. Later, when Erica got back to her dorm, she discovered that her blood bags were doing nothing to quench her thirst. The only thing that could do that was Kuhai's blood, and now that she tasted it, she craved it more than anything even though she didn't want to. As the days went by, Erica did her best to stay away from Kuhai, and since he was swamped with so much work, it was an easy thing to do. One stormy night, as she lay in bed fighting her urges and wallowing in pain, Kiria came to speak with her as Kaya had sent her. She said Kaya wanted Erica to return home since she had refused to make Kuhai her dependent, even though she'd already tasted his blood and was desperately craving it. When Erica said she wouldn't return, Kiria asked why she was being stubborn about the issue. Instead of responding to the question, Erica asked Kiria why she'd returned to her mother's service. She said Kaya didn't give a rat's ass about her and reminded her of the stupid games she liked to play with her. It turned out that whenever Kaya got bored, she erased Kiria's memories so she could watch as Kiria spent years trying to find her master. Kiria told Erica she didn't mind because it was what Kaya wanted, and she could never disobey her master no matter what. Her words made Erica say she would never get a dependent because she didn't want to have that much power over someone's life. She then angrily tossed her pillow at Kiria, as she declared that she would never become like her heartless mother, so Kiria left. That same night, after the storm had let up, Kuhai discovered Kinade hanging upside down on the ladder leading to his balcony. After letting both her and Haruna in, Kinade claimed she had come to hang up some dolls that would ensure the next day would be bright and sunny. Haruna then served up some tea, and as they sat drinking it, Haruna asked if he'd come up with an idea for the cultural festival after party. He told her that he hadn't, but when she started juggling the fools in her hands, he suddenly got an idea. The next day, he rushed to the student council room to tell Erica about his idea, but Lori told him she wasn't around even though she was hiding in the next room. He then handed the proposal to Shiro and asked her to give it to Erica when she returned. After that, he left, looking very much like a sad puppy. The next moment, Erica emerged from her hiding spot, and after she took a seat and touched the folder, she felt an intense pain. Lori walked up to her and started talking about how she had no other choice but to make Kuhai her dependent as she wished to keep drinking his blood. Erica told him she wouldn't do that, so he suggested she find someone else to become her dependent, but she felt bad about taking her friend's humanity. This made Shiro volunteer to be her dependent, saying she was willing to give up her humanity if it meant Erica and Kuhai could return to the way they were. Shiro immediately voiced his disagreement, but Shiro was determined to go through with it and refused to back down. It was then he realized Lori had manipulated the entire situation to force Erica to make a decision. He grabbed Lori by the collar, but Lori, who was his master, ordered him to let go, so he had no choice but to listen to him. Erica then promised Shiro she would find another solution that didn't involve taking someone's humanity. That night, Erica went to Kuhai's room and dropped the mini air balloon he'd made for her in front of his door, after which she returned home. The following morning, Kuhai found the air balloon in front of his door, so he immediately went to the student council room to look for Erica. Unfortunately, he was informed by Shiro that she'd returned home because she didn't want to make anyone her dependent. After that bombshell, Lori took him to the chapel and explained that once a vampire drank blood directly from a human, their urges intensified. He said that Erica's refusal to drink more of his blood had caused her intense pain and suffering. Shiro couldn't bear to see her in pain, so she offered to become her dependent, but Erica decided to return home instead. Before Lori left the chapel, he told Kuhai there was only one way to bring Erica back to school and asked him to consider it. For the rest of the day, Kuhai went about his duties, but each time someone asked about Erica, he came up with an excuse as to why she wasn't there. During lunch, he mistook Haruna for Erica, and when he realized his mistake, he apologized. Kinade scolded him for it, but Haruna said he was confusing faces because he was stressed out from all the work he'd been doing. This made Kinade insist on holding a tea party that night, and she told Kubu to invite Erica. That night, Haruna, Kinade, and Tsukasa waited in Kuhai's room for him to arrive with Erica. However, he came back alone and told them that Erica wouldn't be able to attend the party because she was busy. When the girls mentioned that they could hang out with Erica the next day, he told them it would never happen. His friends looked at him in confusion as he said Erica would never return because he'd made a mistake. The moment he began apologizing, Kinade snagged a sticker on his forehead and told him to shut his garbage-smelling mouth. She said Erica would never leave the school because she loved it more than anything in the world. The others agreed with her, so she told him that if he knew where Erica was, all he had to do was go bring her back. Kuai thought about it for a while and then promised to do just that before he ran out of the room. Shiro, who went to get carrots for her rabbit, saw him running and wondered where he was going. When Kuai got to the gate, he saw Lori and Seiichiro, who offered to take him to Erika since he had no idea where to go. Meanwhile, Kiria opened the door to Erika's cell and told her that her mother wished to speak with her. Soon after, Kuai, Lori, and Seiichiro arrived at the house, and they took him to see Kaya immediately since she was expecting him. Kaya asked if he'd willingly come to become Erika's dependent, but he told her no and said he'd come to take Erika back. Kaya got mad and used her powers to send him flying around the floor before she got up and grabbed him by the neck, saying he needed to die for his insolence. She called him an insolent brat who didn't understand the way the world worked, but Kuai stood his ground and argued that Erika wanted a different kind of life. Just then, Erika appeared at the doorway and begged her mother to stop hurting him. So Kaya threw him towards her, after which she asked her to make him her dependent. She threatened to silence Kuai permanently if she didn't do it, but Erika still stood her ground and refused. Kuai then told Erika he'd come to take her back, but she said she wouldn't return because his life would be in danger. This prompted him to ask if her condition had changed since she returned home, but she didn't respond. Since her silence told him all he needed to know, he told her that if she returned, he was willing to give her his blood to help ease her suffering. Kaya told him the moment Erika took another sip of his blood, she would have no other choice but to make him her dependent. Kuai responded by saying it wasn't her decision to make, and then offered Erika his hand. He told her that their friends were waiting, and that as long as they were together, she would never feel alone or suffer. Much to Kaya's annoyance, Erika took Kuai's hand, and together they returned to school, where they were welcomed by their friends. Having no other choice, Kaya instructed Kiria to return to school, so she could watch Erika's every move. A few days later, the cultural festival began, and everyone enjoyed it because everything went smoothly. That's it for today's video. If you like anime recaps like this, check out this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.